For me, oddly enough, it's hard for a lot of people, unless they know me very closely and personally. I'm a slightly nervous, tick slash anxious sort of guy. And I struggled with that quite a bit in school, and I kind of have moments of it that come and go even to this date. But I've gotten better at it, and I think I developed a sense of confidence in adopting a persona.
Yeah.
So sometimes that that helped me navigate through situations, and it gives me a kind of something to aspire to be towards. So I guess what I am on stage is probably what I want to be 24/7.
Hello and welcome to Your Heart's Content, a show where we try to analyze the parts of content that really matter. We talk to musicians, artists, illustrators, designers, stand-up comics, folks in the business of content, all in a bid to try and understand this space of content a little better and how you could benefit from it. In this episode, we speak to Sidharth Raveendran. Sid is a dear friend and he's the vocalist of a hardcore band called Pacifist, as well as a band cum comedy collective called Tadpatri Talkies. Sid is also a marketer and he's worked in the space of events and ticketing before. So together he has a very interesting perspective on not just content but also kind of like the marketing side of it. He's also run a sauce company, an artisanal little project on the side. So overall, a fairly rich experience to draw a lot of insights from. With Sid, we speak about a whole bunch of things, including music, including what musicians kind of need to do today beyond just their art. We also speak about very philosophical topics, like we speak about subversion in art and how that pushes the form forward. So without any further ado, much like a high energy pacifist show, here is our conversation with Sid Raveendran. Sid, thanks so much for being here.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
There is so much we could talk about, but let's start with the most obvious place, which is take us through the events that led to you giving out 500 rupees as prize in coins in a garbage bag.
I mean, yeah, it was leading up to that point. I think the idea came from wanting to create a hip-hop parody video. Which at that point of time, there was a lot of buzz around gully hip-hop and gully rap and all of that.
And this was the early days, right? 2017. Right?
Yeah, 2017. I think we were just a year and a half or two since Mere Gali Mein was released, and that was a smash success. And then with the success came the imitators.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of was reaching a point of saturation around that time, especially as a listener. And especially as someone from the hip hop scene, so Anmol, who goes by EMF, who came up with the lyrics to the song, and Tadpatri Talkies together conceptualized the idea and created the character of Garibi. And what better way to debut Garibi? There's no better place you can think of. Battle rap event called B3 Art of War. I think that's where Battle Bars Bombay, which Anmol EMF is a part of. So that's where we debuted the character. Divine himself was there at the event, along with a lot of other prominent hip hop figures from the scene today. Obviously, things back then were not as big as like they are now. He still is pretty revered, and so was he back then. But yeah, it was fun to kind of pull everyone's leg a little bit and parade as the character and have fun with it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What is the reaction to you giving out? I mean, that is quite an act, right? Giving out like 500.
I mean, it was amusing more than anything else, right? Everyone liked it's like we called him the cheap guest of the show. And I think nobody ever knew of what this character was or what we were doing with it because the video wasn't out yet.
Okay.
The video was still probably a few weeks away from launch. We were just teasing first looks for the character with stills from the shoot and whatnot. So I think that was like a fun thing to introduce the character to the world and actually see the character in a live setting.
Yeah.
I did a very corny 6 lines on the mic, freestyle. And not that I'm any good at actual freestyle hip hop, but yeah, that was the act basically.
Do you remember those lines? You would love for you to see. I do it.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
No, we won't make you do that. But the fun thing is we go back and see the early Tadpatri Talkies videos is just how, for lack of a better word, and I say this in the most polite way, unhinged.
Yeah.
The
That is the
videos
word.
were. Right? It's very random. It just looks like you guys were having to use your word fun. And I want to one line that I've actually written down, which I want to actually say, is that in general, the perception of the audience towards us has been that a bunch of random people who are having a blast in each other's company, and that has drawn in a lot more fans. But it's rare that we are taken seriously, and I'm glad that is the case. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it seems like such a natural thing. Like, I'd like to think that we are having fun over here, but it feels like in this day and age, and this is a nice way, I suppose, to segue into what we actually want to talk about, which is, is there this sense that today, if you have a camera in front of you and if you're actually putting something out, then it has to be more polished than it needs to be? Like, I think there's a certain level of irreverence that made this kind of content work. And when I say work, I'm not saying with the traditional metrics of views, likes, and however the industry is viewing it, but just in terms of the people behind or in front of the camera, just having, like you said, a blast. That wasn't really a question. It's just like a random observation of
No, you're right. You're right. Because I think another keyword is subversion. Because I think that was a huge motivator for everything we did at Tadpatri Talkies. Like, be it the subversion of like popular hip hop or even popular comedy for that matter.
Yeah.
Because comedy was another big, I would say booming, space at that point of time. Because AI beat blown up massively in I think 2014, 15.
Yeah.
We were a few years into that and seeing a lot of YouTube channels do their thing. And there was some sort of codification in terms of how even comedy was being built, or how content was being created.
Yeah.
So I think the need to subvert that was also like the motivator behind all the wacky sketches and the absolutely unhinged content that you got to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good way to summarize what we got to see.
You spoke about subversion. I want to ask this question. Why do we feel such a strong need to have subversion in the kind of work you do? Like, I mean, it's not new in any way. Everyone wants to do that. Right. And you're amongst a few people who have done it successfully. But why do you think there is this human need to do subversion?
So I think the need to conform or to not conform would be the motivator here, right? So I guess that depends on what cloth you're cut out of. So some people love the idea of taking a trend and owning it and making it their own thing and developing something out of that. I mean, great artists have managed to tap into trends and create their own meaning out of it. Like, I don't know, like a David Bowie, for example, who's never stayed true to one style in that sense, but has evolved through decades, right? Through various phases of pop culture. And at the same time, you need to break, I guess, what pop culture is, and you want to break a cycle, and therefore the need to subvert. So counterculture is the natural result of that. And I think we just see it in more rapid phases these days than what it used to be. So maybe a counterculture could have been a decades movement, maybe 20, 30 years ago, but now it's just maybe a seasonal effect, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, that was a great answer. I'm just trying to digest that a little bit. Let's talk about you and your performance. Actually, I've seen you on stage, hilarious. I just love watching you on stage. It's you bring a certain energy that I wish a lot more front persons had in the industry. Is extremely engaging, and even if they may not be fans of the music per se, it's a great performance as such. I mean it. Like I have told you before many times that that the genres that you play are not necessarily my cup of tea, especially with respect to your main project, Pacifist.
Right.
But it's just a joy watching you play, interact with the audience and stuff like that. Is that something that was always there in you? Is this something that had to consciously be built up, or is there a story of you doing something subversive when you were in third grade?
I mean, sure.
Feels like a nice.
No, there was always a little streak of I guess wanting to be some sort of an I don't know, for the lack of a better word, entertainer.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, otherwise I would have been a better musician. I would have been better at playing an instrument at this point. But yeah, I think a huge motivator for me. Oddly enough, it's hard for a lot of people unless they know me very closely and personally. I'm a slightly nervous, tick slash anxious sort of guy. And I struggle with that quite a bit in school, and I kind of have moments of it that come and go even to this date. But I've gotten better at it, and I think I developed a sense of confidence in adopting a persona.
Yeah.
So sometimes that that helped me navigate through situations, and it gives me kind of something to aspire to be towards. So I guess what I am on stage is probably what I want to be 24/7, but of course that's not realistic. So I have corporate Sid and I have stage Sid, and I just navigate
life in front of
and I have silly Sid also, who's often seen with friends cracking really bad.
No, it's interesting because one thing I heard on some podcast recently is I forget who just said this. It was one British comedian who said this, and almost exactly like you said, he had various roles and he would know what that person's say whatever bullet points or characteristics were, and he made sure he would shift in between modes, except he took it to a level where he would even operate at, say, the level of, I forget what his name is, so let's just call him David.
Right.
David, who's going to the insurance office, right?
Yeah.
Who has okay, these are 3-4 things that need to be achieved. This is the personal. Forget all your biases and all that. You're a funny guy and all that.
Yeah.
These are 3 things that you need to keep in mind. Just go for it. And I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at life and switching between modes.
Right.
So, 2 questions over here. One, just when was the first time you kind of did something in a bit of public that made you think that, okay, I could be the entertainer? Because all of us grew up thinking that, oh, I could be that person, or I could be that superhero or whatever. And nobody actually ever does it beyond their circle of friends, being the goof in the, circle, as it were. So when did that breakout happen? That's number one. In many ways, I feel that is more intimidating than possibly performing on stage.
Right.
And 2 is, how do you switch between, say, just the 2 modes that you said, straight Sid and work Sid?
Right. I'll answer your question with a very inspiring person, Richard Linklater.
Sure.
So I owe a great deal to Richard Linklater for. I mean, he's got an amazing body of work. I think he's probably created one of the best films ever with Boyhood. But it's School of Rock, which was kind of, it opened the doors to a lot of things in my head. I was a casual music listener. I really enjoyed singing, but privately. But School of Rock showed me that, hey, you could be like a 12-year-old and you could, have a good time on stage and you could just be like a rock star.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey,
or a 40-year-old pretending to be a 12-year-old.
Or you could still be cool, yeah, being Dewey, right? Dewey Finn. So I was like, okay, cool. That's an interesting world that he built, and I got onto a mission of trying to find people to start a band with that idea, because I thought maybe I'd have to be 18, of a certain age and be able to access certain things to get started with that. So I tried unsuccessfully multiple times to set up a band while in school, but we did end up doing like a little annual day type thing.
Yeah.
I think it was the send off. In fact, it was the last day of school or whatever, and we played like a Green Day song and I played guitar. I actually played guitar and sang back then.
Okay.
Briefly did with Pacifist as well. But my motivation, like I said, more than playing the instrument, was to orchestrate that and execute it, and I think that was the real joy for me. And I think multiple iterations of different bands happened throughout the years. I was in a science fiction themed heavy metal band called Gaia's Throne at one point of time.
All my research and I could not find that.
I just discovered the genre of science fiction metal bands rather the sub genre of science fiction metal bands.
I mean, it's a direct line from there to the ocean, so there's kind of like the same thing. But anyway, yeah.
Like we were nerds basically. So there was that. There was a cover band I was part of called Mickey Learns to Mosh, funnily enough. Yeah.
More like Michael Learns to Rock.
Like Michael Learns to Rock, yeah. So
Makes sense.
there were fun projects that happened while I was in Pune, while I was a student. Then Bombay happened. I moved here, and things took a little more, I guess, momentum in a lot of ways, because then I was actually exposed to the workings of shows and how gigs work around here. We had a rudimentary form of it in Pune. Like, I would like to say, even my journey as someone in events or like in live entertainment began there, because without knowing it, I was a promoter, in the sense that we were printing posters. We were finding the right guys to do our artwork, and we were trying to create really cool looking art to market our events and collaborate in that sense. And also simple things like running a Google form and just finding your your core customer in that sense. So there was a little bit of marketing at play without me realizing it. And and to this date I'm marketing to people and selling tickets for events. So it's been quite a journey, like, in that sense. But yeah, on stage, I think it would be sometime in school that kind of snowballed into where I am today. So slowly over time.
Do you have like a pre-stage ritual just to snap out of one and into the other, or does it just naturally happen when you get on?
I think the ritual for me is to center myself, because like I said, I'm a bit of an anxious, nervous type of fellow. So I've realized that, like, just a couple of simple exercises to warm up. Pacifist is also my band, Pacifist. We're a hardcore band, so we're very physically demanding on stage. Especially as the vocalist, I kind of give my...
I have seen that,
Yeah. It comes with the genre, it comes with the, the trappings of the genre, like the way the emotion is conveyed. So for me to reach that, give that 200%, I just do a little warm up, usually drink lots of water. I avoid beer at all costs, because you don't want to burp on stage.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how music in the 21st century is different from what happened in the 1960s. But yeah, go on.
So I definitely do not recommend that. But yeah, I mean, it's just that, just like staying hydrated, stretching, doing a few jumping jacks, whatever.
That is you never expected that from a metal musician.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, first of all, I don't expect any sort of nervousness from a metal musician to begin.
No, but I think in a way, I think a lot of people have followed that kind of journey, right? People who were nervous or who still continue to be nervous and then force themselves into a sort of persona on stage is a interview answer I have heard many times, right? And maybe maybe the most popular modern day example, if you count 30 years ago modern, is probably Kurt Cobain. Like, I doubt he would be very, very extroverted, but then, completely different sort of thing. So then, that makes me think, and as a performer and somebody who thinks about audience experience,
right?
All performance is really about some form of world building, right? I'm just using a word that you yourself said, right? You kind of like want to draw people into that world, kind of to give them a sense of expectation of what is to come. Like, I feel very sad when there are good musicians who come and play very good songs, but without any fanfare, I'm not saying do production for the sake of it, but there is no world building that really happens over there, right? Now, world building could happen through a simple line that they're saying, or not, or through backdrop, lights, whatever the case may be. And I think that's an important question to ask, not just from a musician point of view or a band point of view, but for anyone who is quote unquote creating content. I feel like because there's so much out there, and you will go through so many different vibes in a single Instagram content consumption session. Wow, did I just say that? I'm sorry. Consumption session. Sorry, let's edit that out. No, but like, you will be seeing somebody's personal story, and then there's tragedy, and then there's a creator doing comedy. So I feel like almost there needs to this world building that would happen at a monumental scale for, say, I don't know, Metallica World Tour or something, has to be done at a very micro level for reels as well, right? So when people see like this video, it's almost like the setting and the first few words are important almost
to draw the people in.
Draw people and to give them a sense of expectation of this is what you can expect. Are you going to get something profound out of this? Are you going to get something silly out of this? again, not a question as much as what you think about that, because I know that's something that you probably think about when you're on stage or performing. You all have certain roles to play. The music that plays when you get onto stage, there is a certain kind of world building that happens over there. So yeah, world building, broad question.
Okay, I'll answer. It's a very broad.
Yeah, that's okay. That was a very roundabout question.
I'll go back to Richard Linklater, because there's another thing I would like to mention about something that he recently did. It's a Netflix film called Hitman, and it has a lot of the concepts in the film have a lot to do with the anima, your sense of self and identity, and there's a lot of psychological themes to the film. Glenn Powell, the actor, he's the titular character in the film, and he is a professor, a psychology professor by day, and he is an undercover cop, not a cop, but like someone who sets up a scene, undercover for to bust people who are hiring hitmen. Okay, so it's completely two different worlds, and he has to switch who he is to fit the profile of someone seeking a hitman on hire, and then implicating that person and getting them arrested, right? So it's hilarious. It's really good. I think it's one of the best things Linklater's done. As always, like, I'm a fan. So I think that same logic kind of applies even like I said, when you're switching between work and your personal life and on stage, and probably even if you were like creating content, you're talking to a camera, or you're like, just trying to connect with your audience, right? So knowing, I guess, what you want to say, how do you draw someone in, and while being, I guess, the most sincere version of you.
Yeah.
I would say sincere version of you, because I think there's only a set compartmentalized, I would say, range of emotions or themes or ideas that you would touch upon or express in that particular setting. So with Pacifist, I think it's very intensely emotional in a very solemn way. Like, there's not much talking on stage. I don't do like banter. There's not like, I'm not a stand-up comic on stage. It's like, we do our business. We speak to the audience between maybe 3 or 4 songs. It's not like quipping between every song or two. But sometimes you also read a room and you adapt accordingly, right? Because we recently did a gig at a local watering hole called The Stables. It's not like a massive venue, and it's also the crowd that came for the show was an old-timer crowd. Like, these are boys from the metal scene who've been like attending shows for like literally the last half decade or so, right? So with them, the banter is very different. So sometimes you read the room and you kind of adapt accordingly.
Yeah.
But you kind of know your touch points in terms of what would make sense and what would connect with your audience, and stick with that. So you do kind of script it in your head. It's not overt. It's not something that's deliberate. But I think there is an intent to, build that connection, that narrative, and therefore that world with your audience, if that answers the question.
It does. And I think it's a perfect way for us to segue into the other part of you, as it were, the marketing side of things. One question I have is, so while you shift from this mode to this mode, almost like the flick of a switch, there are some parts of you that you will want to say keep constant, right? It's not like this is unless of course you are
base.
There's a base, right? I mean, I suppose it works for you, especially. I think it might be slightly different if, say, we were talking about metal band and say somebody who's for which no part of that identity or knowledge really works for what they're doing for their day job, for example, right? Like if you're a
banker,
for a banker or a very senior IT person or whatever, it's like, sure, you do whatever you want at night, but come over here. So there's no spillover, as it were, that way. I suppose it becomes a lot more difficult that way. But how do you maintain that base level that you spoke about, and how much of that is kind of important? If that feels too complicated, then we can just talk about the whole marketing side of things.
No, I'll try and answer it like as briefly as possible. But I think the base of it is something that you kind of develop over time. I don't think I knew my base for a very long time also. I think that's also growing up, right?
Yeah.
Because now I'm 32 now. I think I've only developed a stronger sense of identity probably in the last 3 years or 4 years. Because there's been a lot more work that's probably gone into that. which was not necessarily a self-aware priority when I was in my 20s, right? In your 20s, I mean, in my 20s, a lot of it was also just survival and just like trying to make ends meet and, make the most of your time and your energy, because everyone wants to make it, I guess, when you're in your 20s. But I think you're a little more, I guess, smarter when
You sort of find yourself or come into yourself as a person.
Yeah.
In your 30s.
Yeah. For sure. And I mean, I'm seeing the results of it. In fact,
Yeah, no, and I mean, I can say it for sure. I was there 6-7 years ago,
right.
Where, very much the same thing. You think that your 20s, at least the world tells you that you have to sort out what you are by 25 and all that. I find all that to be a lot of hogwash. You kind of figure out what you're attracted to, what you're not attracted to, what you place more value on. Is it money? Is it work-life balance? Is it this, is that? And then you realize that everyone's kind of pulled by different strings, as it were. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think it's kind of like a beautiful space to be, because now that is the framework with which you are kind of like approaching the world, right? Like, okay, that's an interesting hypothesis that I've kind of drawn, that I prefer this over this. Let's wait for the next time a situation arises where I can test this. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like a nice way of looking at it as well. So, well, we have given you the concept for the next Pacifist album. So,
no, I also think the question of, for example, having the two identities as you speak of, right? I really don't think it's a question of switching as much as it's a question of toning up or down.
Up or down.
Yes, I really, so it's not that you would be not thinking about Pacifist while you are at work. I'm sure that happens once in a while.
Sure.
Or you would not be preoccupied with some things that happen at work while performing. It's just that as in, maybe it's an adult thing, or is it something just how we become as people, that we say that, hey, at this point, I'm going to tone this up. Because this is the side of me which I need to show.
Right.
But I don't think there is a contradiction in any way. I don't think there is a dichotomy which needs to be sort of resolved in any way.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's talk about the whole marketing side of things now.
For sure.
Like, one of the reasons I wanted to obviously is for insights on music, performer and all that, but also about the whole, the fact that you are kind of like a marketer, and that were marketing for the events industry and all that. So I'll ask a question point blank, which I think many musicians especially will want to know. Many of them get frustrated that they put out nice music over there, and the fan following is still in the low hundreds, and they're not being invited to Glastonbury. I tend to exaggerate, yes, but the point I'm making is, today, at least, it looks like being a successful musician, and I'm using success in big quotes over here, is more than just about the music. And I don't say that in a derogatory way, right? I think each era does have those, different things that matter. So just want your observation, thoughts on that.
So once again, that's a combination of what your goals and priorities are as a musician, right? Yeah. Always is. You need a brief.
Yeah, you need to
as any good marketer.
You need to write your own brief.
You write your own brief.
Yeah. That's self-work also, right? But yeah, basically, it really depends on what your goals are.
So what could those goals be for a musician in this day and age?
I mean, if I were to strike a broad average, you want your musicianship to shine, which means you would want the ability to build, construct great songs and have great production, etc., all of that. And to present that product in the best way possible, which could be anything from the artwork that it goes with, to a music video, to how you do a promotional campaign around it, to the works, right? And then your means and your ability to, because everything costs money at the end of the day, and we all know what Spotify does with stream numbers and with money, right? So that's the catch. Unless you reach the 1%, what do you do as a musician in the meantime? I think it has a lot to do with, once again, the world building aspect, but now it in the sense of community, right?
Right.
I strongly believe that being an artist and being a musician is not an act in isolation. You are part of a larger narrative and a community, and it's your ability to either integrate yourself in it and work with other forces in it, and what they bring to the table, because a lot of collaboration is how you can break new ground and also do it sustainably, and a lot of favors and help, matter in the long run, right?
Yeah.
So if you're out there looking out for other musicians and help them out with your skill sets and
Yeah.
abilities, it's kind of like if we're all like in a sense, what's the word for it?
Looking out for each other in some sense.
No, I was going for people who have their own trade and craft and skill sets, right?
Sure.
So everyone has their own build, and it's a very gaming kind of way.
Got it. Yeah.
But everyone's got their own skill set and inventory, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you go to other artists and see what they've got, to offer, and then you can find a way to collaborate and do things together.
Yeah.
Because someone who's a great vocalist in a band would also happen to be, I don't know, a great visual illustrator, or someone who's just a bassist in a band, but also is a great producer.
Yeah.
So you just need to combine forces, and I think that's how, like, especially for us as a band, or even in past projects, even with Tadpatri, like, we've had the fortune of collaborating with a lot of people to create great ideas.
Yeah.
So that's I think the core of so I would say sustainability. And I think you can never predict when you will blow up or when you will break out, right?
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is be consistent, like as most people would tell you. Consistency is, once again, it's a mix of both what you do online and what you do offline. So how often you play shows, how often you get booked, how often you make an effort to visit cities, play good shows, gauge what would make for an interesting event or experience, and partner with the right artists to create those kind of lineups. It depends on who's doing it for you as well. So we've been a DIY band, so we do all our bookings ourselves. We try and a lot of times we don't work directly with promoters, especially in Bombay. Not true of other cities, but especially in Bombay, we organize our own shows. We book the venue directly. We book the artists that we want to play with directly, and we work in a very do-it-yourself fashion, which is also very I would say a core tenet of punk. If there was an ideological thing for being punk. So I think these things have helped us be sustainable and survive, and also recover some of the expenses like that we make. So we have a good show, we make good money, then we put it back into recording something, and the ball keeps rolling in that sense. And fortunately, we've had a good momentum on both fronts, be it online or be it offline, that we managed to play a bunch of shows, including a few festivals as of last year. And I think it's a good place to be in life.
Yeah, and good for you, man. Like, and I want to go back to the first thing that you spoke about, which is goals. So, and as you were saying, I was just theorizing in my head, there's almost like a spectrum of these goals, right? Like, if you're a musician, if you take the two ends of this, and since we are all marketing people over here, we can draw like a quadrant or whatever. Like at one end, it's like it's pure art, and the other end, it's say pure commercial, right? Where the music aspect honestly doesn't matter all that much, and no dissing on that necessarily, but it's almost like, where do you kind of want to be in the spectrum? If you're in it for the pure art, you want to figure out the most complex chord scales, whatever, you can sit in your bedroom, you can do that, and you can just derive the immense satisfaction of having done that, and you don't necessarily even need to put that out in the world.
Right.
When I was in college, one of my closest friends used to play way better guitar than any one of us who claimed to be in the band, and he was the only one who could play the opening of Creed's that 6 Feet Under wala song. And like, I mean, like, you should be playing this, we can like play this. You're like, no man, I really don't want to do that. And I thought that was so, I mean, in a way I was frustrated, but also like, great for you that just playing this by the window makes you happy. So then you have that, and then of course at the other end you have, okay, I am in this for the money, and music happens to be a means. And I feel like people who are at this end of the spectrum, for them, okay, playing a guitar today gets me whatever reels and money or whatever, and they'd be happy to swap it with whatever technique gets them there tomorrow. Again, I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum, do whatever works for you. And you figure out where on the spectrum you really want to be. I would like to think that most folks like you, and when I say you, I mean, let's call them independent musicians in India, do something over here and something over here, this to pay the bills and put roof over head, and this so that it's more closer to art, etc. At the same time, you don't want to be just sitting in a bedroom yourself and cranking out angry chords. You want to share that with an audience, with the community, etc. So again, again, this is a long answers, a question / observation. What do you think about this dichotomy, as it were, in terms of goals?
I'll say it's a sliding scale and not a dichotomy.
Okay.
Because the thing is, because I refuse to believe that there is a choice.
Okay.
I don't think there is I choose to be a commercial artist and therefore I become one.
Sure.
Oftentimes it's not in your hands, it's not in your control. Like I said, you never know what is the breaking point, which is the moment where that whole world opens up.
You're saying that even something over here has the potential to uncork and become very, very big.
Yeah, I mean, that's where most people lie. I think that's where, once again, it's 98% people lie in that.
Sure.
And then the 2%, they don't know they're gonna be that. Like, no, it's not a choice. Like I said, everyone has, I guess, like I said, certain goals and like objectives. Some people are more amenable or are more attracted to the thought of, okay, I definitely want this to reach the maximum number of people possible. I think that's a very basic thing.
Sure.
The money, the fame, all of that comes after, right? So what do I do to get more people to listen to my song? And when I mean more, like talking millions of people, right?
Sure.
So that there are definitely like lots of people working in that direction. And then there's people maybe working in a direction of, okay, I this is where I lie in the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to this particular subset of people or that particular community, right? And then how do I become recognized or known or respected in that space? So there are certain choices you can make, but I don't think there is a dichotomy in the sense of being a commercial artist purely.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking at a gig economy, which is you're working as a backing artist for a Bollywood musician, etc. So that's where a choice is more definite. But as an artist wanting to put music out into the world, I don't think you have a choice. You just do your thing and then you see where you lie in the spectrum.
Yeah.
So, but I also feel that, I mean, I think it goes back to the initial point of what we talk about in the course as well, is the clarity of ambition.
Yeah.
Right. That the moment you have clarity of ambition, it sort of actually solves out that dichotomy, whether it's a dichotomy for you or it's a sliding scale.
Right.
And the other thing also is that with any creative endeavor, right, there will be some stuff which you do because in some way or the other it works, whether it's for the audience or for the money.
Right.
And there will be some stuff which you do because I really want to do this. I actually like doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think even in that process, there is a sliding scale. So why should there not be a sliding scale in the larger thing of a commercial and an artist?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the question I was getting at, and I think you've answered it anyway, but I'll just clarify. I don't think it's a matter of saying that, okay, I'm going to be here or here, right? You kind of like have to do both. Especially because there are so many variables at play. Like you said, you never know when angry punk is going to become mainstream in India, for example. Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is that is such a variable that you don't know, and putting all your eggs in that particular basket might be too much. So you know that you need to slog it out over here, put in the time, perseverance and consistency, like you say.
Right.
While, I mean, that's not going to put food on the table beyond the point. So you need to do some of this to balance that out. It's almost like, say, another thing that we do in the course is once you figure out what your clarity of ambition is, you know what to take in and you know what to sacrifice. Right. So if you decide to go completely over here, you know that you're sacrificing art and you're going to be sneered at by your buddies who listen only to prog rock from the 60s and all that sort of thing. And if you're over here, you know that, okay, it's going to be a 1 BHK for a while till something happens, or I need to supplement to something else, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think the larger question really is this. I think a lot of frustration and this is not just for musicians, but across the board, is about mismatched expectations. You know, thinking that, okay, if I go in and if I buy this guitar, suddenly I'm going to become like an Arjit Singh, or I'm going to become like a Joe Satriani, whichever end of that you want to be. And I think it's more a matter of getting your expectations right. And I think this is true of absolutely any medium, be it reels, be it I agree.
So I just want to also talk a thing about expectation, right? Like one of the things when people are putting out work for the first time in the initial part is, when you let's say put out something, okay, some 100 people listen to it and stuff, right? You know, like, okay, what is this 100 people is nothing. But thing is, the moment you start thinking of it, oh, if this were a gig and 100 people were standing in front of me, I would be thrilled.
Right.
Right. But the moment is the internet anonymizes those 100 people and makes them a monolith.
Yeah.
Where there are actually 100 real individuals who have vibed with what you have done.
100%.
But that's also an expectation you need to set yourself for as an artist. to say that, oh, yeah, 100 people liked it, man. That is something.
Yeah.
This is no more just me sitting in my basement and making music.
Yeah.
And I think that's also an expectation setting you need to do for yourself.
Yeah.
In the long run, because nobody goes viral overnight. So that's the reality of life.
That's a great observation. Sometimes, like when you go to these music festivals, especially, sometimes I feel bad that, they have a band on stage and there's only like about 10 people or something in front. But then you go and see how invested those 10 people are in the artist.
Yeah.
And I know and you've probably been in this scenario before. I hope you aren't in that scenario much more in the future. But how much does it matter beyond the fact that I wish that there were more people over here, that when there are 10 people versus, 1,000, 10,000?
I mean, it all boils down to like I said, where you are. I think what's important is you need to know where you are in your journey. And at the same time, know what is more valuable. Like you said, just having an active fan, the value of that, recognizing that and acknowledging that, as opposed to, looking at numbers by large or, glossing over data or whatever that is. I think that centers you as an artist, as a musician. But yeah, I think what would be exciting is to see how you could grow that into a bigger thing for yourself, right? So maybe it was a few 100 people at a music festival where you'd expect thousands of people to be there, right?
Yeah.
But you're probably playing 3 p.m. and nobody's shown up that early, and you want to play, but you're going to play for those 100, 200 fans that really, really love you and want to be there for you, right?
Yeah.
And are really passionate about music.
Yeah.
And then there's a little, a spiral effect out of that. They'll probably talk about it. They'll advocate you as an artist. And then you'll see 300 people pack a club, which is outstanding, right? Because so that's the payoff that you might see sometime down.
It takes time, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think every band would have gone through that journey at some point of time. Except, of course, strangely enough, King Crimson, which opened with a crowd of 200,000 or whatever it was. But and now nobody listens to them. It's kind of like a weird anomaly in music history. But anyway, the last few things that wanted to ask you is, suppose as a musician who's listening to this and is wondering how to get up on, say, the festival circuit and stuff like that. And I ask this because you have worked in ticketing and all that sort of thing. What are the factors that go behind an artist being chosen or considered for programming? I'm assuming that it's a lot more than just the music alone, and might just be an amalgamation of everything that we spoke about till now.
100%. I mean, it all boils down to a few things like curation from the promoter's lens. So what they think is a good model for a music festival, which is based off their understanding of what works for other music festivals, their experiences. That's what shapes and molds any festival. It is a human choice.
Yeah.
That this is what I think and this is my vision for a festival.
Yeah.
So the curation, how connected they are to culture and how connected they are to various forms and shapes of culture will feed into the way things get programmed, right? So I think that's obviously the most significant contributor to what acts end up playing a festival. But I would say for a domestic artist, not like an international artist, obviously they have their own draw and appeal and different factors at play over there. But for domestic artists, I think the more important things would be relevance in a sense of if people are listening to you, if people are
of course,
attending shows. I mean, those are your basic
things,
parameters. Sometimes it works out in a way that you're a novelty. You're not really an act that has performed before, but you have a significant clout of some kind. So, an Oaf Savera playing NH7, for example, not necessarily a traditional choice, but now it's an option because, hey, they blew up doing music for films and, and blew up on reels. And now they're on a stage playing music to you, and connecting with the audience that is consuming that music and, those reels. So, I mean, the outcome is varied and I think selection criteria in that sense are also quite vast and diverse.
Yeah. And I find that so interesting. There are some people who, purely because they are popular or they have the following or whatever. Some could be from a novelty perspective. Some could be I have been to, we all have been to so many events where you're like, who is this artist exactly? And then you're transformed completely by the time that
Yeah.
done. It's almost like you feel like this act was put here to elevate the mood, even if you had no idea kind of going in.
Yeah.
And I think it's useful for artists to think that way, perhaps, right?
A music festival, I think a lot of people don't give importance to the fact that it is a tool of discovery.
Correct. Yeah.
The point of being at a music festival is to discover new music and new acts, and therefore, diehards would be the ones who show up early,
Of course.
watch, and and have an opinion on the day's lineup and on a stage's programming, etc. But obviously, it's not everyone's cup of tea. A lot of people want to just have a good time, show up for the main event, and enjoy the top acts and leave.
Yeah.
So, whatever floats your boat, man.
Yeah, fair enough. I have a question that kind of encapsulates everything that we've spoken about till now. Now, you've called yourself an IP specialist, right? Intellectual property specialist, and I think that's great. So, one of my theories with respect to content creation, like just regular folks putting up content or whatever it is out there, is to give some level of packaging to whatever they're doing. And by packaging, I don't necessarily mean like have nice lighting like we do over here, or all that sort of thing. But if you have 50 ideas over the course of a year, if you can structure them a little better and almost add like a layer of packaging over this. Okay, this month I'm going to focus on this. This month I'm going to focus on this topic. This month I'm going to focus on the same topic. You're still pretty much doing the same amount of work. But just because it seems a little more focused, you're like, oh, he's talking on his reels about music this month, or he's talking about furniture this month, or whatever. It just feels like there's a little more focus towards that, which has a whole more than sum of parts kind of feel to it. Or what I would tell a client, there is PR value in this, even if they don't go and consume each and every piece of content. You can put out a press release saying that every month or this month, this is the topic that they're going to talk about. It's a theory I've held for a while. I've thought about it from a marketing point of view, but do you think that works from a content creation point of view as well? Not saying that every month needs to be focused on a certain theme, but almost like to say, hey, this random piece of trivia that I'm giving out, I'm going to give it a name, I'm going to package it a little bit so that there's almost sort of like an audience expectation. It goes back to what we were talking about, building worlds, right? Today I'm going to tell you the origin of X. So like, this idiot has done this before. So let's, again, broad thought, very, very all over the place question. But yeah, what do you think?
No, I think there's a fair
And I'm asking you as an IP specialist, because I'm talking about mini IP, so in some sense.
So for me, I think you'd pick a domain, right?
Yeah.
So you know that you are placed well within that domain. You have a certain understanding of it and command over it. And then within that domain, you would probably be able to explore a bunch of subjects.
Yeah.
And then, give a certain amount of weightage or emphasis to certain subjects and find a way to segue from one subject to the other.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, the core of a lot of narrative building and campaign building from a marketing sense, right?
Yeah.
So I think those people learn these things unknowingly, and I think now everyone's got like probably a marketing hat on, especially if you want to put yourself out there in the world and you wish to create content of some kind, whatever it may be. Obviously it not everyone likes to call it that. Some people, like going back to musicians, and like for them it's their art, and they don't want to call it product. But that's one perspective of looking at things. And obviously for other people it's more a daily, I want to put myself out there on social media and I share something with the world. But the core of it is that creation and wanting to share, motivated by a goal or objective, and structuring that within your domain and what you seek joy in. So I guess
But I just like the fact that you spoke about seeking joy and getting joy of doing things, because our belief between both of us is very strong that whatever content you're putting out there, right, at some fundamental primary level, it must give you joy.
That's right.
Right, because otherwise it's just race to the bottom. And it is also a race to burning out.
That's
yourself.
Absolutely.
Because if you stop identifying with what you're doing, if it's not authentic to you, if it's not your voice, I mean, you will lose interest / burnout. One way or the other.
Yeah. So the ideal way to end an interview with a comedic hip-hop artist and a hardcore artist obviously is by quoting something from his LinkedIn. So we We live in the 2020s. Intent and purpose are seen clearer than ever. Be authentic, be real. People like seeing this, and you can extend that to your brand as well. I think that kind of sums up so much of what we are talking about right now, including all that spectrum sort of thing. This is a very, very abused word right now. You see it everywhere. The word authentic, of course. How important has that been to you?
I think it's a very core tenet. Like I said, it comes from what cloth you're cut out of, right?
Yeah.
So authenticity, I guess, is something that I've learned through the culture that I follow, and through, I guess, the appeal of it was built around staying true to yourself, and showing it to the man and giving it to the man, and not taking shit. And we're allowed to say shit and all, no?
That's this thing.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I think a lot of counterculture, and I think rock music at large, authenticity is a huge part of it. So I think I adopted and ingrained it through that. I mean, I'll give full credit to rock culture for setting that up for me. And yeah, I think I just now find ways to channel it in other spheres of life. So I think there's a way to be authentic as a marketer. There's a way to be authentic as a as a friend, and as in relationships, and yeah, it extends to all your world. So I think that is the base that you're.
Yeah, the base, exactly, right?
The base is that, and then then you just dial up and down what you want, what you need to in each of your. Yeah.
Awesome, man. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. You are running off right now to
literally track vocals. Yeah.
Track vocals. And which one of your 7 projects is this for?
This is for no. There are no 7 projects anymore. I have dialed down significantly in life now.
All right, you have entered your 30s clearly. You're doing fewer things.
Doing fewer things for sure. At one point there was a podcast. There was sketch comedy and a band. Now I think it's...
And during the pandemic, there was sauce also, which
speak about. Yeah, hot sauce and making hot sauces and stuff. We still do a fair bit of brewing at home. I just keep it low-key. I don't post much.
Yeah, I see where on the spectrum it is. More for the art than... Yep, got it. Yep.
But yeah, currently wrapping up recording vocals for Pacifist's upcoming EP. We'll have a 5-song EP coming up soon. Literally tracking the most challenging and the most I'm also procrastinating a fair bit on that song. It is a bit of a it's the scariest song on the album, so I'll.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Have we put you in the right mind space for it though? I'm not quite sure.
No, I think that once again I'll go in the studio and then studio mode.
Studio mode. Okay, sir. Got it.
Tweak the knobs a little bit and we'll get there.
That's just life is all about tweaking knobs. Sid, thank you so much, man. This has been great. I've been wanting to have you on for this. I've been wanting to chat with you about this forever. We only end up bumping into each other.
I wish I had more time, and I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it. This always, it's been a good interview when you are dying for part 2. So. I mean, us, if not the audience. So yeah, thanks so much again, Sid, and good luck with the EP that's coming out and with everything else that you plan to do.
Thanks, guys, and cheers to you guys as well. All the best.
Thank you.